Welcome to the Side to Side Sportscast, where we're bringing it all to you courtside, from the ringside, from the sidelines, and from all those sports we play outdoors. We outside. It's the Side to Side Sportscast, baby. And I don't I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody. All right. It's no CJ. It's no Will. So if I'm your least favorite person on this show, I apologize. I apologize because it is your boy, James Woody. I'm out here just doing it solo dolo. I'm going to hit you with some of my takes. All right. Never fear. James Woody is here. I'm hitting you with some of my takes. And I'm gonna hit it with you. All right. I'm gonna hit you with it. I'm gonna hit it with you, and that's what we're doing tonight's episode of Side to Side. I don't even care about some of the the homer takes, right? You know what I'm saying? All the takes that we consistently get, hearing about Mac Jones and Dak Prescott, all the Daks and the Macs of the world. No one's out here talking about Zach, but every day we gotta hear about Mac and Dak. So none of that. And let's get it started. We're gonna start with the courtside. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay. So courtside. Season is young, right? Very, very young. But it's always fun to guess who's going to be the MVP, right? At the end of the year, that's always the most important award, right? Who is the MVP? Who is the greatest, right? We talk about, some of the best players to ever play the game. That's how success is measured, right? Is with that MVP award. Obviously, before the championship, right? Obviously rings, right? Rings matter most. But the MVP discussion is a big one, and it's never too early to start it. So let's get it started. I feel like there's only one answer. If we are actually picking an early MVP, so it's probably fitting that I'm the only person here, so I don't have to hear someone say a name that's undeserving, because there's only one name. There's only one name that's deserving. And when you look at the best team in the NBA, right? And then you look at their best player, a man who's actually no stranger to this award. He might have won it, a couple of times in the past. He might be pretty good and right now in the midst of his best season and literally leading his team by himself. Will Gaddy before said he was white hot, and he has not cooled down. There's only one man that I could possibly be talking about, and that is the chef himself, Chef Curry. Ooh-wee! I'm telling you, boy, that man is still cooking. He is my pick, the one and only pick for way too early MVP favorites. Now, I know, we can go with, someone from the East, right? We can go with like a KD, right? Because the Nets are doing well. We can go with, Jimmy Butler, right? Because of the Heat. I don't even know. Is DeRozan? DeRozan is the pick from the Bulls. Is that the case? Or, are there some votes for, Levine? I feel like that team just has so many, so much contribution coming from so many different places that I don't even know if there's a runaway MVP candidate like the way that for the Nets it would be KD and for the Heat it would be Jimmy Butler. Another team, right, that hasn't surged, literally surged. They weren't even in the playoffs. Now they're second in the league right now are the Suns. So, I mean, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, what's going on? Are they contenders? And maybe they are. Maybe every person, including Levine and DeRozan, are contenders. But in a world of actual contention, they're pretenders because it's Steph Curry. How There's no way. There's no way you can tell me that it's anybody but him. I mean, he is on pace to break his own astronomical record for most 3-pointers in a season. And I know, yeah, that's just threes. Even though, I mean, like the next person is like 200 threes less than him. But all right, let's forget about that. I mean, what he's done with that team, both ends of the floor, shooting well, defending well. I mean, best record in the league. They don't even have Clay. They don't even have Wiseman. They're not even at full strength. Best player on the best team. It is Steph Curry one more time. And he's already been here. He already knows what it's like. He's already tasted what it's like. And if you guys don't stop him, if he remains healthy, then he's about to taste it again, right? He's about to taste it again. So that's all I gotta say about that. There's no other contender. There's no other contender. I'd like somebody out there to name. No, never mind. Because you guys can't do it. So another thing I want to talk about. We staying with the courtside because I don't know if you guys saw. We're not ESPN, but we do break some news sometimes. We do release news. So Luke Walton was fired. I don't know who saw it coming. Definitely well deserved. But what other coaches are on the hot seat right now in the NBA? I got a guy who's now backstage who might be able to answer the question. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome my co-host, the one and only Will Gaddy Jr.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We here courtside, and to talk about these coaches on the hot seat. Just felt like I dressed like a coach for a second, right? But let's talk about who in the NBA has toasted buns right now. That's what I like to call it. When you're in the seat and the seat is hot, you got toasted buns. Luke Walton had toasted buns. And Woody, I know you don't like this, but you as a very passionate LeBron James hater, no, stop. You don't like LeBron. When LeBron went to the Los Angeles Lakers and Luke Walton got fired, everybody blamed LeBron. Apparently, Luke Walton was like the next coming of Pat Riley, and LeBron got him fired. But what did Luke Walton do when he went to Sacramento? He did absolutely nothing. Now, you know what I found out today, and everybody out there, you can Google this to validate this stat. Luke Walton is actually, by winning percentage, the second winningest coach in Sacramento Kings history. That is how pathetic that organization has been. Obviously, Rick Adelman is their greatest coach of all time, but second to him in terms of win percentage is Luke Walton, and he is now looking for a job that he may not have. There's a couple more coaches that are on the hot seat, and we might as well just keep it in LA because people are about to blame this on LeBron. But Frank Vogel, a championship winning coach, yes, you are on the hot seat. Now, why are you on the hot seat, Frank? Because look at your roster, right? Now, I don't think it's all your fault, but your boss is going to blame it on you. You have 3 players who are on last year's team. You got LeBron, AD, and THT. They are the only 3 players who were on last year's team. The year before that, after you won a championship, you massively turned the roster around again. You brought in Dennis Schroeder. You brought in Montrezl Harrell, right? You brought in a host of shooters, or so-called shooters, I guess you could say. That didn't work. Then this year, you revamped the roster again, and the team is 9-9. Frank, you've been questioned for your roster rotations. You've been questioned for your ability to lead the team when things are not going well. And your team, the Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron James, and also you've got Anthony Davis, a top 75 player of all time, according to the voters. And you've got Russell Westbrook, who is also a top 75 player of all time. Now, I could be corny and name Dwight Howard, who was maybe number 76, number 77. But guess what? He's also on your team, on your bench, right? And this team just doesn't get it. We could talk about the so-called fake malice in the palace that just took place in Detroit. But the Lakers were getting spanked before that incident. They were losing 91-76. It was about a 15-point game. And then after that, they rallied together and they came back and won. Right. Is it really that? Is that what it takes right now for the Lakers to be good? I don't know, Frank. You tell me. It doesn't look like your team is buying into you, right? You guys are pretty much about to lose to the New York Knicks, right? You still got AD. You still got.
Why are you saying it like that? Why are you saying?
Oh, look, the Knicks aren't bad. We talking medium flavor wings, right? The Lakers mild sauce right now. The Knicks medium, right? So the Knicks are a better team than the Lakers right now, right? But that's no excuse. The Lakers expect the expectation in LA is championship or bust. LeBron has missed over half of the games this year, but the reason why you go get Russell Westbrook is so you can survive that period of time. And they're going to point the fingers at you, Frank Vogel. They haven't been done yet, right? But look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. David Blatt took them to the championship. Guess what? Got fired, right? So obviously he isn't the one that took them to the championship. Tyronn Lue comes in. Tyronn Lue, you got multiple championships in a row. Tyronn Lue gets fired. Your little championship in LA doesn't mean anything. It's not protection. You will get fired by the GM.
By LeBron James. You will get fired by LeBron.
LeBron just go out there and play ball, man. This narrative that
does he play UFC? I don't know.
He be calling all this narrative that he calls all the shots is a false narrative.
Yeah, false narrative. Yeah, that's literally what he does. And if he doesn't get his way, he elbowing people in the mouth. That's LeBron James for you.
Yeah, because look at his track record. LeBron James has a history of dirty plays. Like, that's who he is. Right? This is what I mean. Resident LeBron James hater.
I'm not LeBron James hater. That's not true.
One thing happens is all LeBron's fault. Right? That's where we live at.
So he elbowed someone. That's not his fault.
First, he didn't even elbow him. It was closed fist. He hit him in the face.
He literally bloodied a man in that.
But I'm just saying it wasn't an elbow. He closed fist, hit him in the face. He deserved to get suspended. Look, LeBron snapped, right? He snapped. He lost his cool. Should he have done it? No. He was trying to Kobe Bryant in 2007 smacked Manu Ginobili in the face. Oh my God. Right? No, I'm just saying. Kobe said the truth. Kobe said that, hey, from time to time, somebody can catch an elbow. It's going to happen, right? Isaiah Stewart is being boxed out by DeAndre Jordan and LeBron James. He's literally sandwiched in between them. Like, he's playing aggressive. He's got DeAndre Jordan's jersey gripped. He's got LeBron's jersey gripped, and he's trying to position himself for the rebound. And LeBron gets frustrated. Backhand, right? You can't do that, Bron. Bron got suspended. Bron deserved to be suspended. He did not deserve to be out there with his team tonight playing against the New York Knicks. So that's Bron's fault. Hey, it happened, right? I mean, what's the big deal with that?
I should have left you backstage till we talk football because I knew you would find a way to talk about LeBron James for 10 uninterrupted minutes.
I talked about Frank Vogel for 10 minutes. Frank Vogel. You asked the question about LeBron. Because this is what
talking about LeBron with Luke Walton. You talking about LeBron with Frank Vogel? I mean, I don't know. Is it the LeBron BA? Like, I don't get it. This has nothing to do with LeBron James. We're talking about coaches on the hot seat, and yet you out here.
But what the point that you're missing, Mr. Woody, is that when you coach a team that has LeBron James, your clock is ticking, right? It's ticking fast. Like the man is going for legacy. Every year, the expectation is championship. If what's happening in LA right now is why Frank Vogel is on the hot seat. If Frank Vogel was coaching this team and LeBron James was elsewhere in the NBA, his seat wouldn't be hot. It's hot because he's coaching LeBron James. You know, that's just what it is. That's what it was with Tyronn Lue. What you said?
You actually very brilliantly talked about how his coaches don't really mean it, right? They just get fired nonstop. Like, should they just not have a coach? Should LeBron
if the team is not winning, why did the coach never change in Miami? Right? Because that front office was fully established. You got Eric Spoelstra, right, who was trained and groomed by Pat Riley, who LeBron respects, right? You have them. Everything was fine. They had to mold the team at the beginning. They went to 4 state championships. The team started to, crumble from the inside. LeBron decided to go back to Cleveland. He wanted to try to win a championship there, right? The same coaching presence isn't there. So the GM is under pressure to who's going to help us win. It wasn't David Blatt, right? It became Tyronn Lue. And then Tyronn Lue coached the team without LeBron. They got rid of him. LeBron went to LA. Luke Walton, that didn't work right off the gate. They got rid of him for whatever reason, right? So that is how that conversation started. And it transitions into Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel, I mean, unless you have a coach that is on a hotter seat than Frank Vogel right now, you tell me. I don't think you can do it.
Whoa, what are you? Are you serious right now?
Oh, go ahead.
What do you mean? Go ahead. I'm telling you right now. Frank Vogel. First of all, his seat shouldn't be hot. He's dealing with the whole. First of all,
shouldn't be and is are two different things.
Okay, all right. I'll stop right there. I don't know if it is. The person's whose seat should be hottest. I think it is hot. I think it is hot. Detroit. I think they're tired of losing. You want to talk about the fake malice in the palace, giving up that 15-point lead. Dwayne Casey. What's going on? I feel like just like how in Sacramento, right? The just perennial losing and that's an incredible stat that you just pulled out with Luke Walton. But they're losers who have young talent and they're trying to elevate. Like the Grizzlies, who have had young talent and have lost a lot recently, are actually right now they find themselves 6th in the West. But the Kings are stuck in the bottom, and the Pistons are pretty much dead trash. I mean, Cade, we just talked about before the mild sauce with the rookies last week. I mean, Cade Cunningham. I don't want to say something mean because he's a child, but Dwayne Casey is definitely his buns are toasting.
See, now that's not fair to me.
What?
Because look who's Dwayne Casey is coaching. Like, is he coaching a team that should be on the cusp of winning? They just had the number 1 pick in the draft. They just had the number 1 pick in the draft. Do you know why? Because last year they were trash. They weren't good, right? Now, he's been in Detroit. So he's been there for a couple years. But look at the youth on this roster, right? They're pretty much in almost the same situation that the Lakers are in. If you look at the players on the roster this year, I would literally have to go through and count. But I do believe almost 80% of their roster this year was not on the roster last year, right? And if you weren't a good team last year and you got a brand new team coming in, right, outside of like Jeremy Grant and Sadiq Bey and maybe Killian Hayes, everybody else on that team is new. They're not expected to be a good team. So I don't know if they try to go in a different direction. Because I just said, It's the difference between the seat should be hot versus whether it is or not. I don't think his seat is hot right now, but if they're back in a position where they're drafting first again, the organization may have to go ahead and seek to make another change. And now you're back in this situation where you're constantly changing coaches, right? With this young team that needs to grow and develop. Sometimes you got to grow through your failures. And that's what Dwayne Casey is tasked to do right now. They only won 4 out of their first 17 games. So they are struggling mightily. Cade Cunningham is not playing well. But this is a team where I would say the biggest measuring stick for Dwayne Casey is how are your Detroit Pistons going to be playing after the All-Star break? You know, are they going to be more competitive? Are they going to be, leave a good taste in the fans' mouths for next year? You know, that's going to be the measuring stick with Dwayne Casey. I think Frank Vogel, I think his seat is hot right now. I think he's looking over his shoulder. If this continues to unravel, he may not make it to the All-Star break.
So you think that that's possible, that he might not last the season?
I absolutely think that could be possible because when they make these changes on these coaches, there's an alarm set off, right? And once that alarm is set off, everybody has to wake up. And Frank Vogel, right now, being the head coach of that team, if they let him go, then man, everybody gonna have to look. Coach got fired, man. We got to figure this out. And when you have that pressure on you, it could lead to different play. But Fizdale is on that bench. Fizdale is close to LeBron James, right? And look, I'm put it out there. Obviously, I'm a LeBron James fan, but where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Like this conversation, if Frank Vogel is fired and Fizdale is promoted to be the interim head coach and the team starts winning, they're going to say, oh, that's LeBron's boy. He wanted him there all along. He didn't want Frank Vogel. Because the Lakers, when they brought in LeBron, they did say they're going to run this team the way they want to run the team. It's not going to be like Cleveland where LeBron had say in everything that happened. The Pelinka, he picked the coach, right? Pelinka picked the players. Like LeBron, yeah, we're going to bring you in a start. It's going to be the star that we choose, right? LeBron got nothing to do with that. But now that they're not winning, if Vogel gets fired and Fizdale is in as the man, then watch. It's going to be a story to tell. And I do wholeheartedly believe that if the Lakers are still like below 500 coming around the All-Star break, that is a realistic possibility of something that can happen. And I don't think it would be the right thing to do, but I think it would be the thing that is done.
That's fair. That's fair. I also don't think it would be the right thing to do, but, LeBron, he's getting desperate. He's getting old. He's elbowing people. He might just elbow Frank Vogel out of his job. So,
wow.
That's.
At least can we be factually correct? He did not elbow anyone.
Oh, sorry. He can close fist strike or whatever terminology you want to use for the UFC move that was pulled.
You could just say hit. You could just say hit. He hit somebody because that's pretty much what happened.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. He bloodied a man in the NBA court. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that is LaFlop James. But we will transition from LaFlop to LaFootball. We are going to the sidelines, all right, for fantasy football breakdown. It's been a crazy season. We still got some time left. My teams, all 4 of my teams are still alive. I'm not gonna lie, 2 of them are on life support, but 2 of them are actually in a real good position to make a nice second half push. So, when talking about people who are, hot, who's not, some names to look out for. I'll start. A name that I'm really, really nervous about I wanted to. He was available in all 4 leagues, and I only drafted him in one of them. And I'm not gonna lie, the first 5 weeks, I was like, "Oh my! I should have drafted him in every league. I would be set instead of having to start Taylor Heineke and Darnold and all these random people from week to week." But right now, like I'm a little nervous. I don't know what's going on. But Matthew Stafford, uh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he also injured his finger in the same game that Russell injured his finger. Everyone, the attention all went to Russ because Russ cried and missed some games. But Stafford played through it, right? We already know he's as tough as they come, tough as nails. All the different cliches you want to use. You want to talk tough guys. Stafford's one of the toughest in the game. So maybe he's playing through injury and it's affecting his play, but he has not. It's not even that he hasn't been great. Like Patrick Mahomes hasn't been great, but the last couple of games, Matthew hasn't been good, and I'm upset to even bring this up because Will Gaddy, who loves slandering the Rams, loves slandering Stafford, loves showing everyone videos of practice. Is probably gonna have a field day. I actually didn't even think about that until right now, but I just wanted to speak from my diary because the team that I have him on, we're poised. We're poised to make a push. I picked up some great people over the course of the season, but if I don't have a quarterback, then the only thing I'm pushing is 6th seed in that league. So that's how I'm starting it off.
Well, Matt Stafford is certainly someone who is unexpectedly not hot right now. But I'll tell you someone who this is a quarterback that you usually like if you in fantasy football, you can get by with this guy if the rest of your roster is pretty much up to par, right? Or good. Like this is a quarterback who has been productive throughout his entire career. Doesn't have a Super Bowl trophy, but what does that matter in fantasy football, right? He had a chance to get a Super Bowl trophy. He was actually ahead 28-3. And then a nightmare occurred. And he's still been struggling. And this year has probably been his worst year as a quarterback. We are talking about Matt Ryan. Matty, ice cold right now, right? Ice is probably the right nickname for him because that brother is not lighting anything up. He's freezing cold. He's got 4 games this year with less than 10 points of production. And in 2 of those games, he's only scored 2 or 3 points. The last week's game, I think he had about 2 points, 2.6 points, depending on your scoring format. It doesn't matter because he didn't have a touchdown, right? He didn't have a touchdown against the Patriots. He got pulled early. The week before that against the Dallas Cowboys, it doesn't matter if you play in a 4-point QB league or a 6-point QB league. That boy didn't get any points. He had 0 point something points. So just the yards, he got a couple, but didn't even get a full yard, right? Matt Ryan is unexpectedly not hot. This is fantasy football. Obviously, you may not think that the Falcons would be really good, but you bring him Kyle Pitts. Yeah, they don't have Julio, but, he's played games without Julio. It's Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is, no other way to say it. Matt Ryan, trash. If you start Matt Ryan, you will be crying. That's the slogan that's going around in fantasy football right now.
Definitely crying if you start Matt Ryan. That is a fact. Both Matts, Matt and the Matthew. Well, honestly, Matt, he should not even be rostered in any league. So it's a little bit of a different situation, but both of them are not hot at the moment. Matthew, we hope will turn around. Honestly, going like with the Rams, I mean, we can make this whole segment about the Rams because Odell. Now, I don't know how many people were expecting Odell to be, I don't think anyone was expecting, those rookie season numbers. But for him to be as useless as he's been, I think that's unexpected. I drafted Odell in that same team, actually, that I have Matthew Stafford, only the one out of four. I got Odell. I didn't want him, but it was like at the point, like I want to say it was like 7th round, and his ADP was like 4th. So I was like, like the value here is just so good. I can get him, or I can get like I don't even know, like Curtis Samuel. And that's actually another person who's kind of on this list. But Odell has literally been non-existent for fantasy, and his dad has done his part to try to show the world that it's not Odell. It was quarterback play, but he didn't have the best debut. People do definitely overreact over one game, 2 games. So his story is definitely not over yet, but it is not looking good. I don't know when we'll be able to start Odell with confidence. It is actually possible. It is literally possible that Odell cannot be started with confidence, like again. That's actually possible.
The 2 hardest positions to adjust to when you go from one environment to the next in the NFL are quarterback and receiver, because those positions require timing, right? It requires an understanding of an offense. And for the receiver to run a route, the receiver has to know that where the ball is going to be placed before they're even finished running their route. And the quarterback has to trust getting the ball to that spot based on how they both read the coverage. And this is technical terms, but it translates into fantasy football. So I didn't expect Odell to just come to LA or should I say go to LA? It's not like I'm there. But I didn't expect Odell to go to LA and rip it up in like less than a week because he got traded at the deadline. No, that's absolutely not going to be happening. They just had a bye week. But now they come off the bye week. Odell should be a lot more comfortable with the playbook. They're probably going to target him, right? And he's a momentum guy. Can he get a touchdown against Green Bay? If I had to put a bet on it, I would say his highest percentage of scoring a touchdown is this week against Green Bay, because they're going to try. They just traded for him. They are going to try to get him in the end zone. I don't think they're going to over target him, but Sean McVay's got to play, and that play is going to be executed. This may be like a 2-catch, 16-yard, 1 touchdown game. I'm not saying he's going to rip up the Packers, right? But I think they're going to get him in the end zone this week. But his ability to get comfortable with Matt Stafford, this could really create a problem for the Los Angeles Rams. How much are they going to force this? And I do agree with you to an extent, Woody, that can you start Odell with confidence? I say no. You have to wait and see how it goes. If he's on your bench that 1 week that he goes off, you should feel confident about putting him back in there. Because if he does go off, they're probably going to try to continue on that success. But the upcoming opponents for the Rams, you're in Green Bay. It's going to be cold. I don't think he's going to have like a big They're going to stick with what they know. It's going to be Cooper Kupp is going to continue to runneth over, right? Jefferson may get involved in this game since Woods is out. Odell is not going to be heavily targeted. I do think they got some type of play to get him in the end zone, and I would not be surprised if it happens. Then after Green Bay, they're going to back to LA to play Jacksonville, right? Then you got Arizona, Seattle, 2 division games, Minnesota, who plays every team close to the wire, Baltimore and San Fran. This is not a favorable stretch of games for Odell. I'm not saying for the Rams. The Rams could arguably be favorites in each of them. But for Odell, I don't think this is a good stretch of games. So, yeah, Odell, I would definitely put him on my unexpectedly not hot list, because even before the trade, you expected that when he came back, him and Baker, they were going to get it together. You got that dynamic run game in Cleveland, but the chemistry there was just off. It was said that Baker doesn't play good. He plays better without Odell. But since Odell, Baker has been a faker, he still hasn't been really playing good. So, now you just have to look at the first game. with Odell didn't really work in LA. This next game, we'll see how it goes. But that is a pick that I agree with. Now, we talked about two Mets, and we talked about an Odell.
Do
But
you have a second Odell?
Yeah, he's probably the one and only Odell, right?
Other than his dad.
That's right. He is Odell Beckham Jr., right? That's correct. I definitely slept on that one, right? But I want to talk about not a Matt, but a Mac, right? And we're going to talk about Mac Jones real quick because Mac Jones is my pick for somebody who is unexpectedly hot, right? This is a rookie quarterback. Usually I don't start rookie quarterbacks in fantasy football. Justin Herbert, that is something that is rare. Even when Dak was a rookie, yes, insert Dak here. This is the moment, right? His rookie season was like unexpected for a fantasy quarterback. And it was just like above average. It wasn't like elite. But you usually don't get mega production out of rookies, playing quarterback. Now, last week against the Atlanta Falcons, Mac Jones had a very efficient game. He was 22 out of 26, but he didn't have the fantasy numbers. He had a touchdown and interception, only 200 yards, right? That team played with short field and everything. But if you look at just how he's playing, he is playing highly efficient. And, you look at the week before when they beat Cleveland, he played really well. He played really well against the Jets. He has his games where you could actually, if you need to, I wouldn't say replace your starter with him, but this week, if you need a replacement if you need a replacement for Kyler Murray, you've probably already established that. But if you need a bye week replacement, Mac Jones isn't a bad option for a rookie quarterback. He may be available on the waiver wire because it's not like he's been the most consistent, but he's been hot lately, just as far as playing quarterback. 8 incompletions in his last 2 weeks. That is really good stuff. And this week, they're playing against Tennessee. Tennessee is now officially hobbling, and the Patriots have a lot of momentum. I would say your boy Mac Jones is probably a solid start this week.
I might have to completely disagree, but I mean, it's all good. It's all good. Respectfully disagree. But, there are plenty of guys out there. And honestly, I would say 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit before 10 years ago, Tom Brady was actually a perfect example of, guys who, are winning games and they're playing well, but, they're not necessarily lighting up the stat sheet like that. And I think Mac is one of the greatest examples of that this season. Another name that comes to mind is Alex Smith. Like, Alex Smith was always so successful in Kansas City, but he wasn't, necessarily lighting it up the way a Patrick Mahomes would. And obviously in fantasy QBing, being mobile is the equalizer, right? So someone who's not even throwing well, like Jalen Hurts or Tua, might get you, a couple of, rushing TDs or something like that. So Mac's not going to get you those. I don't see it. If you do need a streamer, honestly, it's someone who I think has been underrated and has been producing, the last couple of games, and their team will definitely be throwing the football. That's another thing you want to focus on because the Pats obviously love to run the ball. There's no guarantee that Mac Jones is dropping back, 40 times in a game or 30 times in a game. Taylor Heineke is definitely on your waiver, and I think he is worth a start if you do need one this week. But someone who I'm going to say is unexpectedly hot is literally I want to say he's the number 3 fantasy player in his position. I'll actually, while I'm talking, do a little filibuster here and look him up because he has been balling. And I don't think anyone He literally is number 3, so I was right. He's number 3 in fantasy scoring. And obviously Cooper Kupp. We can talk about Kupp all day. Will, you already mentioned Kupp. He is obviously a fantasy superstar that no one saw coming. But this person, I promise you, no one saw it coming either. Third year in the league. Last year he was, battling injury. He only started in 5 games. So there were literally no expectations. But even with horrific play at quarterback, Deebo Samuel has been a huge asset to every single person that has drafted him in fantasy. And 9 times out of 10, I'll just say 10 times out of 10, he wasn't even the first receiver drafted. So I'm going against people that have like Davante Adams and Deebo Samuel just getting blown out because Deebo's doing all this work. I mean, Deebo has more points than Davante. Like it's crazy. And Kyle Shanahan has done such a phenomenal job of working with the injuries, right? Like even his injuries to his running backs, right? Like he, down to his 3rd string running back. Well, he's like, you know what? Let's play Deebo back there. Now he's handing it off to Deebo. Deebo is all over the place. He's being used as the ultimate utility player. And as a result, he is number 3 amongst all receivers in the league in fantasy points. You almost can't be hotter. And the 49ers aren't even guaranteed to score points. Yet Deebo, he is so involved because he's so valuable as a receiver and as a runner that he is my pick. Other than obviously Cooper Kupp, who is my MVP. He's everything. Deebo Samuel is the most unexpected hot player in all of fantasy.
Deebo is definitely Deebo in the game. So, and now that Kyle Shanahan is running him out of the backfield and he looks like their best running back as well as their best receiver, the ceiling is really high for him. I'll tell you another player who is unexpectedly hot, right? But I do just want to say something about Mac Jones real quick, right? He's had more than 30 pass attempts in over half in 7 of his games so far out of the 11 games that they have played. So, but, it's really my take on Mac Jones is his trajectory to kind of finish out the year because he's a rookie. And I feel like he's had his toughest days. And because he's so efficient right now, I think they're about to let it off. I think the Patriots are going to be a pretty impressive team. But let's forget about the quarterbacks. And I want to talk about DeAndre Swift. Because the Detroit Lions have been so pathetic this year, right? They've been so bad. You would just look at, I don't need anybody on their roster, right? But DeAndre Swift is actually in terms of fantasy football production in your standard, in one of your PPR leagues, he is a top 10 running back. I think he's 7 in points. And back-to-back weeks of over 130 yards rushing on a team that you just assume is going to be getting dominated. He's had at least 3 receptions in every single game this year and over 5 in all but 4 of them, I believe. That is the case, right? So he is really contributing from a fantasy standpoint, unexpectedly hot, and I didn't really pay attention to it until I was playing against him. I looked at my opponent, I was like, DeAndre Swift. Then I was looking at his numbers and I was like, oh, wow. I was like, he is actually producing, right? And then he put up 20 on me. 20. Yeah.
Put some respect.
He put up 20 on me. He just put up 20 on me. So he is my pick for unexpectedly hot this year. But this has nothing to do with unexpectedly hot. But if you just want to really, to you passionate football fans out there, if you really want to know how good Derrick Henry was doing this year, he is still 3rd amongst running backs in fantasy football points. And he hasn't played in several weeks.
King Henry. That's what I'm saying. The only king I've ever known, other than Triple H, just King Henry. Me
personally, I've never called a professional athlete king. Only people who are obsessed with athletes do that, but that's another story.
Oh, so you've never called an athlete king?
I never
Oh
ever
my God.
called the person that you're thinking about the king. I
You've
don't
never
do that.
said that.
Never, not once. He could be my favorite player, but I don't. That's his nickname. I don't be like, oh, the king. Oh, no, I don't do that.
You
No,
literally
it's
do that.
LBJ.
You literally do that.
You never once heard me do that.
I have.
You have never heard me call him the king.
They've both
right?
heard these.
Oh my goodness. You have never heard me say that because I don't do it. And then the main reason I don't do it is for a petty reason, is because the people who are obsessed with him call him the king all the time. They do it more than his fans. You call him the king more than me. We got records on the phone. Every time you refer to him as the king, your king, king. That's what you do, and you're just like all the other obsessed fans. But we're gonna keep it on the side.
Are you serious? Check my phone. Check my phone. Side to Side Nation. Check my phone. What is he even talking about? La Flop, La Queen.
You literally just posted in our side to side conversation when the elbow that you call an elbow happened. You said, "Oh, the king out here." ... You know, that's the first thing you said. You
what?
so
Are you serious? When did
that you
somebody hack my Facebook? I literally do. Are you being serious right now with that accusation? The king out here?
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, I mean it's easy. All we gotta do is just scroll.
Yeah, scroll.
That's all we gotta do.
The king out here. That does not sound like my verbiage. Unless Derrick Henry is out here, unless Triple H, the king of kings, time to play the game, is out here doing something. I don't. That doesn't sound like me. So while you're scrolling, and don't worry, I'm not changing the subject. We're ready. We're like,
go ahead.
So while Will is scrolling till eternity, another unexpected. It's probably my last one. But I think he's hurt. I mean, he was hurt last week. I don't know if he's playing this week yet. But Cordero Patterson has been a journeyman his entire career. When he was drafted by the Vikings, there was a lot of promise. Like, they were really excited because he's a gadget guy. He's extremely fast. He was a great returner. But it just didn't. It just never all clicked. A lot of times, like when you have guys that can do everything, they're not really great at anything, and they just don't really fit. And that's been the story of Cordero's entire career. But somehow, some way, while the Falcons actually thought that they had their running back in Mike Davis, who filled in admirably for Christian McCaffrey last year, Cordero found a way to carve out some playing time in Mike Davis's watch. And then he was catching some balls out of the backfield. And now he's been the full-time back. Cordero Patterson has literally been a top 10 running back in PPR leagues this year. And not one person, including Cordero himself, was expecting that. He actually might be the most unexpected, right? Because at least Debo, had talent. Cooper Kupp had talent. Like, they were drafted. At least they were drafted. Cordero Patterson was not drafted by anyone. He was a waiver wire pickup, but he has been a key. He might actually be a fantasy winner if the right team picked him up. So that's probably my last one for the unexpected fantasy.
That's a great one. I mean, outside of the last 2 weeks, because he's been injured, and against the Cowboys, there was no need to really run the ball. He didn't do much that week either. He's been a double-digit performer every single week. His combination of running out of the backfield and catching the ball. I would say if I had to give an award to who is the most unexpectedly hot player thus far this year, it would definitely have to be Cordero Patterson, right? That is for sure. Now, who's not hot? Just one more for me. Somebody is tailing off. He didn't have the worst game, but you have to be concerned that his production is basically just going to be touchdown reliant, right? And I'm going to have to say Leonard Fournette. There was a stretch where Leonard Fournette was really the bell cow in Tampa. He was getting the carries. He was getting 20, 22 carries, 15 carries. He was getting goal line carries, right? But he seems to be falling out of favor. Only 21 carries combined over his last 2 games for a total of 82 yards, right? No touchdowns. But he's still heavily targeted in the passing game. But Ronald Jones carries is starting to come up some more right now. So I would have to say unexpectedly not hot right now, because this is the time of year where you expect like your bell cow running backs to like continue to keep gaining momentum and like really bringing it home. That's another one of my picks. And I do stand corrected when I'm looking at our side to side con. It says side to side sports posted it. So I'm going to have to say it is right here, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse the language, but it does say nice little cheap bleep from the king. That's probably CJ, not Woody. But
yeah, there's no way I would ever refer,
because Woody definitely refers to LeBron as the king.
That's never happened. I would never refer to LaFraud as something. Are you serious? That's never happened. That's
you literally just referred to him on this sportscast when talking about Derrick Henry. You, in your obsessed nature, referred to him without saying it.
No, what are you talking about? I said King Henry.
That is the only. Did you not say that is the only athlete that I would refer to as the king? Well, so what are you saying when you say that?
What do you mean? I said that is the only man I ever called king besides Triple H. That's
okay. So when you say that, what are you saying?
That's homage to Triple H. Are you serious? We
don't believe you.
The ringside, the sidelines. I'm paying homage to the ringside, and now you try to see you. We
don't believe you. We don't believe you. We know how to read in between them lines. Hey, sports fans out there, we don't believe you. We know. Y'all know what you meant by that.
There is no we. There is no we. The only we is if we were to ask, is Will obsessed with LaFlop James in French? They would say we. Yes, okay, because you are obsessed.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I gotta give you that. Off the top of the dome, that was actually fresh. I like that, but it's still a fraudulent comment.
That's not true. Oh my god!
Because we know. But anyway,
all right. So, I still can't believe it, but yes. So I've been exonerated. Thank you to everyone. Just exonerated. I feel great. We can move right along to the Stardom Sit-em. I feel like I had something to say with your last unexpected, but we can move right along.
Okay. So, you're talking about you had something to say about Leonard Fournette?
Oh, yes, I did. Because I do want to fight Bruce Arians. Last year I had Ronald Jones. And that's when they picked up Lenny. And I'm like, what are they doing? What's going on? Ronald Jones is killing it. Like, he had that 97-yard TD. Like, he, was killing the game. And luckily, Ronald was able to perform well and keep his job. But then in the playoffs, they were literally saying playoff Fournette, right? They kept saying that, playoff Fournette. And he had a really good playoffs. So this year, I was like, ooh, Lenny took that job. So let me take that. So I picked up Fournette, and he's been incredible. He's literally been incredible. He's been a rock on my team. And now, like you just said, now all of a sudden Ronald is coming back in. And they did split early, but Ronald, I think he fumbled either once or twice.
That's what always does Ronald in, man. As soon as they try to give it to him, he drops the ball.
Literally
drops the ball.
So I was like, all right, now, but I did see last night because I watched the whole game. I actually watched the Eli and Peyton version, but I watched that whole game and I was like, why is Ronald Jones in? What is he doing? Why? So Bruce Arians, get these hands, man. I'm gonna have you looking like I'm not even gonna say it, but for real, you gotta get these hands, man, because you gotta stop playing with these running backs. You gotta choose one. You gotta choose one. Okay. That team is looking pretty good, but I need Lenny. If I lose Lenny, that's a huge loss. And then I got David Montgomery and and Cordarrelle Patterson, but who knows if Cordarrelle's gonna play. I don't even know when he's playing next. So
I do want to say about Leonard Fournette that when you were just talking about him, my thought actually it actually slipped my mind. Man, you started him anyway. I'll circle back to Leonard Fournette. I want to tell you my stardom.
Okay.
Because he was once a sit-em. He went from sit-em to stardom.
Miles Sanders, are you serious?
Nope. I still don't trust him. In fact, I released him when he got hurt, and somebody else picked him up and played him against me and failed. Right? I mean, he had a decent game.
He did.
But he fumbled. Yeah, he fumbled. Right? And but it looks like they are committed to running the ball in Philly right now, and we'll see if I regret that drop. But I needed to drop him because I had injuries and he wasn't doing anything. But in the same division, playing the same position, there was a running back that we on this show said you need to sit him down, and his name is Antonio Gibson, right? Well, over the last 2 weeks, Antonio has been the player that many people expected to draft in that mid to late second round or on a hook in the third round. He's had 24. He had over 20 points against Tampa Bay, and that's against Tampa Bay. And then he had 19 carries for 95 yards, right? Not over the top production, but what you really need to focus on right now is his carries. 43 carries in 2 weeks is by far the most output that he's had this year. It takes a 3-game stretch for him to rival those carry numbers. So we're getting late in the year where Ron Rivera, who is a traditional old school coach, believes in running the football. And that was a great win they had against Carolina. They got Seattle coming up next, and Seattle is crumbling. That defense is almost an offense. The D just ain't there. And then they got Vegas, and then they got Dallas, who is going to be a division game. It's time to start Antonio Gibson.
I have Antonio Gibson. I think I might have, agreed with the sit. Well, I'm going to agree with the start. Well, I kind of need to start him because, Alvin Kamara's hurt. But, he's definitely been picking it up. I would agree with everything you just said with Ron Rivera. They're finding their groove. Honestly, Washington, the whole team, or the whole offense, because the defense is still figuring stuff out without Chase Young. But the offense, Taylor Heineke looks like, he's ready. He's ready to prove something to somebody. And they've been really clicking. I mean, if you have Terry McLaurin, I know you probably weren't benching him, but you probably were like kind of on that cusp because he'll have games of 21 and then he'll have games of 4. But he is must start as well right now. I would definitely say that. So good pick there. My stardom, definitely not unanimous. People are going to probably roast this pick, but I'm going to do it because I personally am starting him on that same team with Antonio Gibson. It's Antonio Gibson and this guy. And here's the thing about this guy. This guy, I want to say it's been like 2 full years since this guy was like a viable fantasy starter. But he is 28 years old. That's not old. It's not. That's not. The few times I've seen him this season, he has shown burst and quickness, some of the things that had him be a viable starter, 2 years ago. But, he just didn't have opportunity. Well, guess what happened? The starting running back got hurt. His ankle. He's out 3 weeks. And now there will be more than enough opportunity for Tevin Coleman to pick up the slack for the New York Jets. Now, Michael Carter was actually a huge contender, but I don't even know if it was unexpectedly because a lot of people in this area, at least like the Northeast, I feel like Michael Carter was kind of on their radar as someone who would have an opportunity to win the job and be a starting running back. But in the last 4 games specifically, starting with the Mike White era of week 8 and week 8 only, starting with that week, Michael Carter has been a stud. Like that week against the Bengals in a full PPR league, he had like 37 points. I mean, his all-purpose yards have been over 100 multiple times this season. He was finding his groove. He even had a really good game against Miami, but now he's hurt, and now there are carries, there are receptions, there are a whole lot of opportunity that could actually be split between Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman, and both of them could actually be successful. But my reason for picking Tevin is because he's the faster, he's the more explosive, and he's actually more familiar in their offense. He was just in San Francisco with Mike LaFleur running the plays that Mike LaFleur is now operating. So I do think Tevin is the guy to go with here. And all he needs is a little bit of room, man. He can still run. This is not a Le'Veon Bell situation. I'll tell you that right now. So that is my start. I'm starting him with Antonio Gibson. I would never tell you to do something I was unwilling to do myself. I'm starting Tevin Coleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, the take from a Jets fan. Tevin Coleman. Listen, there's not too many fans of Tevin Coleman greater than me because if college football, he was probably my favorite running back in that draft class. I was saying he needs to be drafted before Todd Gurley, before Gordon, and obviously he wasn't. But if it wasn't for injuries, I think he could have been a very good running back in this league. But he seems to, when you trust that you can turn it over to Tevin Coleman, something pulls, man. It's just something about his body. When he gets those hits after hits, he's not a bell cow. He can't take it. I only don't trust him because I don't think he's going to keep getting back up, right? I think you can start Tevin Coleman and you could be looking at your box score when you're looking at your fantasy football and you're like, oh, he got 12 carries, 60 yards. And it's the second quarter, and then you'd be wondering, why isn't he carrying the ball anymore? What happened? Now Woody will be watching the game. He's a Jets fan. He doesn't miss it. But for those of you who are just watching your score, what's going on with Tevin? And then you see that big O next to his name. Out. Out. Return questionable, right? And then he out for a few more weeks. That's just why. And look, I'm telling you this not because I want to see him get hurt, but I always wind up taking Tevin Coleman. And when he's ready, I always put him in there. And I'm speaking to you from experience that the boy, when you just expect him to go, all of a sudden, a Devontae Freeman is born, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, Matt Breida is killing it in San Fran. Matt Breida's killing it all of a sudden. Why ain't you killing it, Tevin? Because something's killing you, man. And I hope that you're right, Woody. I hope you're right. I want to see Tevin do good. I do want to see him do good. Now, another player here that I want to bring up as far as a stardom, and this is rare for me because I'm not really the biggest believer in this guy. He always seems to kind of sell you short, but you know what? I want to tell you who I was saying, but I'm going to renege on it that fast because I'm gonna just tell you. So just in case you're curious who I was going to say, I was about to say start Sammy Watkins. It is because the injuries in Baltimore have really amounted, right? I think Lamar is out for sickness. He didn't feel good. He'll more than likely be playing this week. And Rashad Bateman is like, yeah, he's the hot ticket. He's the rookie, but they're really struggling with getting him like consistently in the flow of the offense. And Hollywood Brown has been injured. Like his status for this week is not confirmed yet, right? So if you really need to go with a receiver who is probably going to be heavily targeted, I would say Sammy Watkins could be a flyer. Like if you really are reaching, right? If you're really reaching and you need a flex player, right? Because if you're like a DeAndre Hopkins owner and he's on a bye week this week, you know, maybe Sammy Watkins could do. But like I said, I was going to say that pick and I was going to renege on it that fast because, you know, Sammy is one of those guys who are sure to disappoint. Like he does do that pretty consistently. If you had put Brandon Cooks on the bench, right, because he started off hot and then all of a sudden he wasn't, you know, because Davis Mills was playing the quarterback, I'm going to ask you to put Brandon Cooks back in the starting line, right? Put Brandon Cooks back in there because they just came off the bye. They played Tennessee. He had a weak game. He didn't really do much, right? So this is the time where you could think that, you know what, I'm not starting Brandon Cooks. But guess who Brandon Cooks is playing against this week?
Calm down. Calm down.
Calm down. Listen. I think over the past 3 weeks or 4 games, the Jets are averaging giving up over 40 points a game, right? You know, gave up a 40 burger to the Browns, gave up 50 to the Patriots. Like, you know, you did a pretty respectable job last week of just giving over 20 plus. But if Brandon is going to do any cooking, I think he's going to cook up the New York Jets this week. That is a player that I would start this week for sure.
The Jets defense is atrocious. Bryce Hall has actually been one of their best players. So if he is on Cooks, I don't know, because he literally has not been scored on all year, actually. But for some reason, he's not always playing against their number one, like against the Bills just now. You know, Brendan Eccles was on Stephon Diggs, and Eccles got hurt. He's actually now on IR. And instead of putting Bryce Hall on Diggs, where he should have been from the get-go, our backup actually played on Diggs, and Diggs proceeded to have 8 catches for 167 yards and a TD. So if Bryce Hall is on Cooks, I apologize if you started him. But if he's not, then, oh my God, you might get 35. You might get 35 from Brandon Cooks. Just like 3, 70-yard TDs. So that's my opinion there. I'm going to go with the sit-em. And this is someone who I think me or myself and Will Gaddy, I think we both like this guy personally. I think, think he's a good guy. I think he's a good quarterback. Will definitely thinks he's a good quarterback. And that's why I drafted him, actually. I was like, you know what? This is a good guy. So, this is what I'm gonna do. And he's been okay. He's been okay, but I don't think he's gonna have a good game, like literally for the rest of the year. So I picked up Cam. Now I'm in a bad spot. I'm in a bad spot because now I feel like I have to do the carousel QB thing. When I thought that I was okay with this guy. I had this guy, and I can't even remember the other QB that I have because I've already dropped him because he was garbage. But Derek Carr has lost everything. He's got people in jail. He's got people that's been cut. He's just lost it. Darren Waller, he's good. He's clearly good. I can't say he's not good, but I don't think he's ever been the type of hype that people give him. I don't think he's ever been at the level of hype that he receives, and clearly, they have not been able to, run the offense through Walt. Like the team is just not great right now. I don't see it magically picking up. Brian Edwards is not that dude. It's a shame, because I like Josh Jacobs And the whole team is just not getting any burn. I am more confident in Jacobs because I actually have him on that team. But Derek Carr, he needs to sit down. You need to park him on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Park that car on the bench. Find another QB. I had Cam, and Cam was great this past week, but like that is clearly no guarantee. I think he threw for 180 yards, so it's he's pulling 2019 Jimmy G numbers. So I can't even be confident there. If he doesn't score a rushing TD, he's useless. So I don't know what I'm going to do with QB. I might have to sign up for a league or something and draft myself. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is that Derek Carr is not the answer. I got to say.
Man, I would start Cam. If I was in your predicament, Cam is the man for me. Listen, Cam, if you got to really take a look at what he just did. Cam was out of the league all year. He got signed late, and he played that same week and scored a touchdown against Arizona, right? Then he had a week to prepare. 21 for 27 is only 189 yards, but he had 2 passing touchdowns and 10 carries, 46 yards for a touchdown. What does Cam do? Cam runs. Cam is not sacrificing his style of play. He's never going to be a traditional drop back quarterback. He's going to run the power football. The biggest benefit to the Carolina Panthers, who are now trying to fight for a playoff position, when they get in the red zone, they were going stale. Well, they got Cam now. Cam totally changes that. You got to play the defense differently, and you got Christian McCaffrey back. And I just think that Cam is a great emergency start. If you're really trying to figure it out there, Cam, they're playing against Miami. They're in Miami. Cam is a showboater. I just think that it's a good matchup. If you absolutely need a quarterback this week, he would probably be one of the top stardoms on my radar. Cam is back. He's back. He says, I'm bike. How did he say it? I'm bike.
Oh,
man. Well, if you don't have any more stardom sit-ems, Woody.
No, that was my last sit-em. I don't know. Did you have a sit-em?
A sit-em, a player that I recommend you sit in fantasy football this week. Unfortunately for me, I got to sit him. And it's only because the uncertainty is that he may play, but even if he does play, I wouldn't play him. I think he is going to play this week. But it hurts me to say, you got to sit CeeDee Lamb. He had a concussion, and he passed the concussion protocol, and he's going to be out there against the Raiders. But because it's a Thursday game, and you just don't know, how much they're going to – all he has to do is take one hit, and he could be back on the sideline. Coming back from a concussion that fast, I'm just saying it's not safe for your fantasy football. It's not safe for him as a human being, right? But he'll probably be out there. But if you can find a better replacement for CD this week, I would sit CeeDee Lamb and start someone else for sure. That's my take on that. A good guy to really start this week is Jared Jeudy. You're coming off a bye week. He has always been supposed to be the most targeted person in that offense. He's just been coming back, just been feeling out, coming back from his injury. They're coming off a bye week, and I think Jared Jeudy is about to have his best week. But I don't want to talk about the Denver Broncos. I really don't want to talk about the Denver Broncos at all. Right?
Oh my God, such a homer.
I don't want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I definitely don't want to talk.
You wanted to talk about them all year. You had it circled from preseason. The Chiefs.
Well, now that week 11 has come and gone, I no longer care about them anymore. In fact, I hope they unravel this thing and just don't make the playoffs, right? But hey, like I said, they on top now, right? I said don't sleep on them. But I knew, I just had this bad feeling that they was going to get it together when they played against us, right? But anyway, let's talk about us in these Thursday games that are coming up. It's Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for, Rudy, in the sports world? Well, I'm thankful that I'm a proud supporter of a team that really gets to represent every Thanksgiving
Oh
and
my god!
play.
All right,
And I'm not thankful that we also have to share that spotlight with the Detroit Lions for some reason. Do you know who should play for the Detroit Lions? Isaiah Stewart, because that dude cannot be blocked, man. He's got a chop, he's got a spin, he can get through the defense. And I don't know why the Detroit Lions aren't looking into that. But it doesn't matter because he's not going to be out there as the Detroit Lions play against the Chicago Bears. Andy Dalton is back in at quarterback this week. There's rumors out there that this is going to be Matt Nagy's last game coaching the team. The rumors leaked. He denies them, but when this goes out into the public, you got to think where there's some smoke, there's some fire. There's a lot of things going on in Chicago, and that is really the only storyline that surrounds this game. How is Chicago going to play? Who's going to play? We know Andy's going to be out there. Darnell Mooney is probably another guy that I would say start. 16 targets last week. They're committed to trying to get him into the offense. Like, he's their big play guy. They're gonna throw it to him, or he's their guy. They're putting it all in on him. So with Andy Dalton out there, I would say you can start Mooney. I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to win this game, Moody. I think they're going to be 0-10-1. And you really have to wonder if they're already the only team to go win this for a season. Are they going to do it twice? That question is really, really coming up there. Mooney, I'm sorry, not Mooney. Detroit versus Chicago. I'm taking the Bears in this game. It's going to be an ugly game. I'm going to call it 18, a weird number, to 12.
I'm gonna go and say, first of all, before I say the score, actually, I just want to say, at AEW, when AEW went to Philly, right, the whole fans were saying, hey, Ben Simmons, they were yelling at Ben Simmons, right? That's what they were saying. Now at the Bulls games, they're saying fire Nagy. Like, it was the point. Ben never recovered from that. I mean, I don't think he was going to, but now he's citing mental health and all this. Blah blah. Matt, I mean, how's he going to recover? What is his team like? What is it? His team's in disarray. I'll tell you a coach who whose team is still fighting for him and still hungry. It is Dan Campbell's team, the Detroit Lions. I think that this will be their first win of the season. Okay. I'm saying right here, you have heard it from James Woody. The Lions are going to win this game. And I'll say, I can't decide if I'm going to say 17-14 or 20-17. But there's going to be a 17. And the Detroit Lions are going to win. That's all I got to say about that. That is my pick. For the second game, I mean, I would love to not hear a lengthy Will Gaddy soliloquy about his team. I'm not even going to say, because I don't even want to bring out something that brings out the soliloquy. I think it's clear how I felt about the Raiders' chances coming in here. I just told you to sit Derek Carr. I just told you that there's no one out there. Darren Waller, you can try to start him if you want. I'm still going to have hope for Josh Jacobs. But the Cowboys, if the Cowboys don't win, I feel like that's a red flag. Something is awry. If the Cowboys don't win this game, that should be a smackdown. I'm expecting that one. CD or no CD. Is Amari playing? You would.
Amari is not playing.
You're not. Oh, okay. So maybe not SmackDown, but instead of like 31, let's say 21, 10. That's what I'm gonna say. Cowboys.
Now, this is new because this is like the first year Mike McCarthy as a head coach had like a full season. You got your quarterback, you got your running back. You may not have CD or Amari. Tyron Smith is coming back, so you should have an established line. So I'm giving a clean slate, but if we were doing this sportscast 2 years ago, I would be nervous because the Cowboys can be good all year. And on Thanksgiving, they make you not want to eat your food, man. You know, because like when the Cowboys game is finished and dinner is usually ready around that time. So if you eat early, usually around 4 Eastern time, the dinner is like that, and it's time to eat while you're watching the game. But in my house, we usually didn't eat till around 6:37. So when the game is like just ending, the food is just finishing. And there's been too many times. The last time we played the Raiders on Thanksgiving, they destroyed us, right? The Redskins destroyed us last year on Thanksgiving, you know? Well, obviously we didn't have our full team, but that's no excuse. It's something about this Thanksgiving game over the past decade where the Cowboys just they make you not want to eat your stuffing, man, because your stomach just be hurting as a fan watching this take place. So I'm hoping that this trend reverses this year. So far in trends, we're 500. We hadn't beat the Patriots since the 90s, and we beat them this year. We hadn't beat the Broncos since the 90s, and we lost to them this year. So it's time to win on Thanksgiving. Let's get this W, man. Let's get this W. Let's do it. If I had to pick a winner, I am going to be a homer. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. I fully expect them to win. I agree with what you said. If they don't win, something is wrong. I don't care if there's no CD or Amari. You know, if you got Noah Brown and Malik Turner out there as your top 2 receivers, I don't even think Cedric Wilson is playing this game. We might be out there without our top 3 receivers. Sorry, we got Dalton Schultz, right? Run the ball. Zeke and Pollard better have 20 carries. That's all I'm saying. Zeke and Pollard. We got the defensive MVP. And I'm not talking about Trayvon Diggs. He got 8 interceptions, but I'm talking about Micah Parsons is doing something that no one in league history has ever done. Not just in his first year, but ever done. You know, when you take a look at his tackles for loss, his sacks, right, on the year as a rookie, playing defensive end part-time and linebacker part-time, no one has done it as effective as him. And I think he's going to get his first career interception this week. If I had to pick anything above the score, Micah Parsons is going to get an interception this week. And he might even take it to the house. So I'm going Cowboys 24, Raiders 13.
All right. Tried my best to avoid a Will Gaddy soliloquy. Still got it anyway. But it wasn't as long as they normally are. So we'll move along to the last, not least, well, maybe least, depending on your fandom. But in my opinion, this is actually the hardest game to call. I'm actually pretty confident. Like we said, if the Cowboys don't win, something is wrong. For the Lions, I'm pretty confident that the Bears, they just are in disarray. There's a lot going on. The Lions haven't. I mean, yes, they've been bad, but they've also been competitive in some games. And I think this is the time. This is the place. People will be thankful in Detroit. For the Saints and for the Bills, I'm not sure if I can find 2 teams in the NFL that have been more Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, these guys, play hard, and they've smacked down some teams, but then they've also gotten smacked down by other random teams. It's really hard to predict which Bills we're going to see or which Saints we're going to see. So now they have to face each other. For some reason, I think this is going to be a massacre. I just can't decide who's going to be on top of it. I really can't. You know.
Yeah, this is a rough one. What are the Saints going to do at quarterback? They've been rolling with Trevor Siemian. They just offered Taysom Hill a $95 million extension over 4 years, dependent upon what position he plays, right? Which is, I never heard that language in a contract. This is something brand new. So is he going to start playing quarterback, right, to get that money? Are they going to use him as a running back? They really have no clue what they're doing right now. And you would think that plays to the Buffalo Bills' advantage, but the Buffalo Bills have not shown up in the moments that you expect them to show up. They started off really good, but in these games, they some of these games they played down to their competition. The Saints just got murdered by the Philadelphia Eagles. They're home. It's a big night, and there is a part of me that I think that they come into this game as the underdogs, but I think they walk out of this game with a victory. I think that defense took a gut punch last week, and they're going to get it back together, make it really difficult for the Saints. I mean, for the Buffalo Bills, they're going to keep them to being one-dimensional, and I think the Saints can win an ugly game. It's hard to predict the score. I'm not sure how many points the Saints can score. But I'm going to go to 14. I'm going to go. This is going to be a pretty boring slew of Thanksgiving games. I don't know if a team scores 30 points, right? I'm going to go with 14-10. The Saints over the Bills.
Now, I know the Bills just scored not too long ago 6 points against the Jaguars, but if they score only 10, I feel like that's a problem. But that is actually the problem of this team. I know they just let up a whole bunch of points to the Colts this week, so I sound silly saying this, but they've been the best defensive team. Like what they've done to quarterbacks, and it definitely helps, right? That they played Tua twice. They played Mike White. They played Davis Mills. It's not like they're playing all pro quarterbacks, but what they've done, and they have faced some, right? They faced Patrick Mahomes. Like what they've done is astounding. And on the other side of the ball, I mean, I don't know if this is what you meant, but this is how I interpret it. One dimensional. I feel like it's the Josh Allen show, which is not. It's never a bad show.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, Aaron Rodgers, is handing the ball off to Aaron Jones 20 times a game, or 15 times. AJ Dillon gets his 10 times. Obviously, we don't have to talk about Tom Brady's run game. Patrick Mahomes, right? Darrell Williams was just a huge star in fantasy because people can't do it alone. I feel like that's the only team, literally in the entire NFL, that is asking their quarterback to do as much as Josh Allen is getting asked to do. And don't get me wrong, the boy is a machine. Like he can throw 80 yards, he can throw on the run. I don't know if we've ever seen, literally in the history of the NFL, someone improve accuracy in the time span that Josh Allen has somehow become an accurate quarterback. And he can obviously run. He's a big boy. He's fast. He has burners. We've seen him hurdle defenders. Every year he's hurdling somebody new. He can do it all, but I don't think they should have him do it all. I'm hoping that they learn. Well, actually, let me not even say I'm hoping, AFC East. Let me throw in, my Jet take in there. I don't even know if I'm hoping for it, but they should. They should stop that. they should stop. I don't think they're going to stop on Thursday, so I'm actually with you. I think the Saints might win. I cannot predict the score. I think it's going to be high. I think they might both score 30, actually.
The Saints offense is just so bad, but I do think that the defense can create some turnovers, but I think Josh Allen is going to try to do everything to keep the team in the game. So I wouldn't be surprised at a higher score than I predicted, but Yeah, man. This Thursday's slew of Thanksgiving games. I hope y'all gonna be eating some good meals. I'm not the biggest fan of these Thanksgiving games that are coming up. So, um, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for tonight's sportscast. Next week, we have some special guests coming on with us. But more importantly than that, let's talk about the basis of this show. The basis of the Side to Side Sportscast is for passionate fans all around the world. Well, let's just keep it at the nation for now. To have your voice heard. You are a fan. You are a fan expert. When you see what happens in the sports world, whether it be on the court side in the NBA, the ring side in wrestling and in boxing and in the UFC, and the sidelines, which is the NFL, and even those sports that they play outdoors, the MLB, baseball, soccer, all those sports, you outside, you watching what happens, and you have your own opinion. Just because Jay Williams, Stephen A. Smith, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, just because they say what they say on TV doesn't mean their opinion is more educated than yours. And this is your platform. We want you on this show to break it down from a fan perspective each and every week with the Side to Side Sportscast. And we're going to have special guests that you can come on the show and break it on down with them, because even basketball players are a fan of football and football players are a fan of basketball. We're all fans. We're all in this together. We're side to side. That's how we ride. Woody, my man.
We out.
We out.